coming up today on the Nice Guys on Business.
You've got to take care of your employees. So here's I call it the employee golden rule. That is to do unto your employees as you want done unto your customers. It's pretty much that simple. And whether you're a huge company or a small company with 2 or 3 employees, it's the same. The difference between big and small is really the time it takes to turn the culture around.
Well, I don't know how to put this, but I'm kind of a big deal. People know me. I'm very important. I have many leather-bound books, and my apartment smells like the Nice Guys on Business. Go from where you are now to where you could be. Get expert tips to grow your business, to be more productive and more efficient, whether you're trying to build influence, grow your community, or make it rain. Best-selling author of Nice Guys Finish First, Doug Sandler, can lead the way. The Nice Guys on Business is produced by TurnKey Podcast Productions. Now, here's your host, Doug Sandler.
Nice Guy community coming back for his 4th appearance yet we can't seem to shake this guy. And who would want to? Because actually he is the Prince of Popular, the King of Content, and the Sultan of Service. But he's simply Shep to us. Shep Hyken, he's a customer service and experience expert and the Chief Amazement Officer of Shepard Presentations. He's also a New York Times bestseller, a Wall Street Journal bestseller, and he's here to share customer service and customer experience stories, strategies, tools, tips, tactics. We're going to do it. Excited to talk to him. He is the Cult of the Customer author, and let's do it. Welcome back, Shep, to the Nice Guys on Business podcast.
Hey, man, thanks for having me back. I can't believe it's 4 times, and I remember when you were doing your first episode, and I don't even know if you'd started, but we were hanging out together and talking about, I'm going to do this, and then, man, it's amazing. So congratulations on your amazing success.
Thanks, Shep. And thank you for all your support. I know you've been a great guest of mine. You have some great stuff to talk about. And when I started this whole career reinvention back in 2013, my focus really was on, when I wrote Nice Guys Finish First, my focus really was on customer service, not even realizing that this podcasting thing was going to take on a whole life of its own. And since then, gone into the whole production business and thinking about writing another book called, what is it? Let's see, Nice Guys Finished First, and No More Mr. Nice Guy was going to be my follow-up book. I just haven't come out with that one
yet.
It.
So. That should be No More Mr. Nice Guy with the subtitle from the former author of Nice Guys Finished First. I think that's perfect.
All right. Well, maybe you and I will collaborate on that, because I don't know if I have the strength to put out actually another book and doing all the other stuff that I've been doing in my life. And you seem to keep putting out book after book after book. But this one is actually, so what is it? An updated and edited version?
Yeah.
Or updated? And tell me about it.
So I've written 7 books, and this I don't know if you consider the 8th, because it is revised, pretty substantial. All the stats and facts, and there were lots of numbers and comments in the book that needed to be updated. The book was originally written 12 years ago. It's titled The Cult of the Customer: How to Create an Amazing Customer Experience that Turns Satisfied Customers into Customer Evangelists.
Yeah.
So I'm using the word cult, evangelist. Trying to think, what else can I do to capture the attention of the person who's looking at a bookstore shelf or whatever. But all new stats and facts. Some of the stories are tried and true. I think of some of my idols I included in the book, like a Richard Branson. He's as relevant today as he was 12 years ago, as he was 20 years ago, when it comes to understanding, hey, the reason we're in business is to take care of our customers.
Oh, absolutely.
So that story hasn't changed. A lot of as I looked at some of the other stories, even some of the companies that, hey, they're not really relevant like they used to be, but you can't discount what got them there in the first place.
Well, I totally love that. I mean, just looking at some of the accolades, you have quotes from guys like Tony Hsieh of Zappos, from Morton Steakhouse, from Toyota. So Shep is no schlep, as we say in Yiddish.
Well, Tony Hsieh, this guy is amazing. Always one of my customer service heroes. So this was even before people, he's written his own books. He's reviewed a lot of other books. So I emailed him on a lark. And one Saturday morning, I'm sitting there and I get an email back. Hey, Shep, it's Tony. I'd like to take a look at your book. And I go, is this really Tony? He goes, yeah, it's really me. You're really answering. I mean, he sold the company for like $1 billion already.
Right.
You're answering my email. He goes, yeah, what's wrong with that?
He must have been he wasn't a little bored that day. He probably found something that he actually could sink his teeth into in your book. And I love it because, isn't customer service and creating a customer experience and really understanding your customer journey, isn't it really simple yet so complex? I mean, where do companies really just completely screw up in this process? Because there should be more stuff going wrong. I mean, right than wrong right now, but it seems like easier than ever to connect with your customer. But where is it going wrong? Because it certainly is not. It hasn't turned the corner to creating an amazing experience every time, and we really should be able to do that. So where are we messing up?
All right, so I'm going to give you a really cool secret in a moment, but let me just say that everything we're going to talk about today, almost everything related to traditional customer service, is common sense.
Yeah.
That it's not so common. I joke that one day I'm going to do the shortest customer service speech in the world. And they're going to introduce me similar to the way you introduced me. I'm going to come out. The audience is going to be applauding wildly. I'm going to look at the audience. The audience will get quiet. And I'll just say, be nice. And turn around and walk off stage. Drop the microphone, walk off stage. Now, there is a lot to being nice, okay? Because you've got to define what nice is. We got to understand what customers, what their expectation of nice is. We want to hire people that are capable of delivering the nice, if you will. And as basic as this sounds, it is. So, for example, in the cult of the customer, I talk about 5 cults or 5 phases customers go through. And by the way, employees go through the same phases as they start to do employment with a company. But a customer, first time, it's called uncertainty. Gosh, I wonder if this is going to be a good experience. I hear they're really good at what they do, so they're uncertain. Now they start to do business. Even if it's just walking in the door and being greeted, or they're picking up the phone and calling a salesperson, they're going to start to get into alignment with what the company's promising. Because a lot of times companies will say, we promise you a great experience. It's almost like a brand promise. And then the third phase, or cult, if you will, is the cult of experience. Now that you're aligned with what we're trying to do, I want you to experience. And if you'll come back and experience it again and again, and I can make it predictable for you so you can count on it, now you own it. Now you're in that cult of ownership. And if it's a positive experience every time, and this is the secret I want to share with you in a moment, if it's positive, then you're operating in the cult of amazement. So it's uncertainty to alignment, to experiencing it, to ownership where it's predictable, to amazement when it's better than average. So it's not a dirty little secret. It's a simple little secret. Simple, by the way, doesn't mean easy. If you want to be amazing, you do not have to be over the top, blow me away, incredible service, most incredible I've ever had. No. Those moments come when they fall in your lap. Maybe I'll just use a very generic example. You're a server at a restaurant. You overhear the couple saying, "Oh, this is fantastic, our first anniversary." You've got a chance to bring them a little something special. And they'll go, "How did you know?" That's over the top, okay? It fell in your lap. If there's a problem and you can fix it in such a way, they go, "Wow, I'm so glad I told you that." There's your chance. But day in and day out, you don't have those chances. So here's the little secret. You don't have to be over the top. You just have to be better than average.
Yeah.
And on a scale of 1 to 5, if 1 is bad and 5 is great, 3 is average or satisfactory, right? Just be a 3.3 consistently. All right? Now that sounds like, really, that's a pretty low bar, but it's not. Here's why. Number one, the customer defines what satisfactory is. Okay, so you've got to make sure you're delivering at a level that's at least what most of your customers would define as acceptable. And bumping it up a little bit is when you get a customer say something like, "You know what, they're always so knowledgeable when I call. They're always so helpful. They're always friendly." That word "always" followed by something positive is how you know you're operating above satisfactory. Horst Schultz, CEO of Ritz-Carlton, I had a chance to interview him for my show, and I said, "What does it take to be world-class like you are?" And he said, "Shep, when we started the hotel, the Ritz-Carlton," he's the first president and co-founder of the chain, he said, "If we could just be 10% better than average all of the time part's the hard part, 10% better than average, well, that's fairly within grasp of everyone." He said, "But if we do that consistently, we'll be one of the world's recognized brands for unbelievable service, et cetera, et cetera." And they are. Think about it. Scale of 1 to 5, where 3 is average, it's a 3.3. Unbelievable.
Well, I talked to, and again, Horst had the good fortune of having him on our show, episode 953, Nice Guys Community. We'll make sure we put a link in the show notes for that interview as well. But I remember as he was chatting with me about the level of customer service, it wasn't just the external customer; it was the internal customer.
Yeah,
too,
very important. The culture on the inside.
Yeah, because I think oftentimes, and I can remember being in the corporate world myself, and the internal customer was, I don't want to say ignored, but I definitely want to say sometimes abused, but the positive messaging was still demanded from management. So maybe can you share a little bit about how do you create, even in small, because we do have a lot of, entrepreneurs, maybe even solopreneurs in our community, but how about those that are running those small companies that have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 people that are in their organization and really look at it and say, I thought about my customer being really that external person that's buying my products and services, and forgetting the level of importance that goes into treating your team actually as well as your customer. So can you maybe share a little bit about your philosophy on that?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I think you pretty much summed it up. You've got to take care of your employees. So here's I call it the employee golden rule. That is to do unto your employees as you want done unto your customers. It's pretty much that simple. And whether you're a huge company or a small company with 2 or 3 employees, it's the same. The difference between big and small is really the time it takes to turn the culture around. So we're going to assume you've hired pretty good people that are capable. All right. Now we've got to get them on the whole customer service experience channel that we're trying to deliver. And what we do is we say, hey, let's practice what we preach internally. Treat the people you work with the way you want the customer treated, maybe even better, because you're going to model the behavior. Let's jump over to a guy that most people would recognize, Herb Kelleher, the first chairman of Southwest Airlines, one of the co-founders.
Mm-hmm.
The guy is amazing. So he was once asked, what's more important? Because everything, when you're at the level that he was at and starting a company, shareholder value, your investors, they're important. Who's more important, investors, passengers, which are their customers, or employees? And he thought about it and he said, well, it's the employees. And he wasn't sure at the time. He was guessing. Later on, he came back and he said it was definitely the employees. You take care of them, they'll better engage with the passengers. And when they're happy, they'll fly again on the airline. That's going to make the shareholders happy. So there's no question about it. You focus on employees, because what's happening on the inside of a company is being felt on the outside by the customer. So practice internally what you want felt on the outside.
What do you think is missing from companies that just aren't creating that amazing experience? Because the way that it sounds, you're a 3.3. If you're creating a 3.3 or better, you're above average, and it doesn't seem to be that challenging. So what's missing with the companies that aren't creating these amazing experiences?
Well, number one, consistency, because the moment you slip underneath that 3.3 and you go to average or 3, so here's why you get 5s on a scale of 1 to 5, even if you don't hit a 5 over all the time. It's because you're never less than that 10% above average. By the way, nobody's perfect. So if there is a mistake, it's the way it's handled that'll immediately take a person back from uncertainty, that first cult, into amazement. Because you'll have people saying, like they're always friendly, knowledgeable, et cetera. But when they say, and even when there's a problem, I know I can always count on them, it's an owned experience. But back to your point, if you drop to a 3 or hover in the just satisfactory, you'll never make it beyond a 4 with most people. Maybe once in a while you get a 5 if they didn't experience the average. But the goal is always better than average. So when you hire people, you've got to train them what that means, what that looks like. There's a kid named, I can't believe I'm drawing a blank on his name. Doesn't matter. He is out in Colorado. When I first met him, he was 18 years old. He worked at a restaurant. And he loved working there. His boss, he admired. One day, one of the guests asked him if he was the owner. He goes, why would you ask that? Because you're trying so hard to make sure we have a great experience. And he thought, this is wonderful. I want every guest to think I'm that good, that I'm the owner or the manager of the restaurant, which is great. 2 things were happening. One, he liked his boss. Okay, that's important. You've got to admire who you work with. And number 2, the boss empowered him to do what was right and take care of the customer. He says, you're a good kid. You know what you need to do. If you ever have a question, come back and ask me. If you've done something and you aren't sure it was the right thing, ask me. I'll let you know. And I just want you to keep doing the right thing. Just take care of our people so they absolutely want to come back. And that was about as simple as it got. But think about how powerful that is. And I call that acting like the leader or acting like the owner. And everybody has the capability of doing that. They don't need a title of leader or owner or manager to be a force within their organization. I call that, if you're in a small business, even a solo entrepreneur, you're a force of one. But you could be a force of many if everybody's on the same page. Or if you're like one of the outliers, like some of the airlines that I've had to fly on, it's like, this person wasn't very nice. Oh, I met a nice person. That's the force within.
Right. Oh, absolutely. So,
Yep.
so tell me, aside from just those kind of, I don't want to call them arbitrary, because I think positive customer service on any level, whether it's a flight attendant that's overhearing something and bringing you that item that you needed, or service staff at a restaurant. But what are some of really in the corporate world? What are some of the corporate, the key performance indicators that you might see to measure customer service? Because people might be thinking, this is great, but that really doesn't apply to the company that I have, because I don't really have a lot of outward facing, things, opportunities to impress a client or customer. But is that not the case? Do you always
It's
see
not the case.
Okay.
Everybody has an opportunity, and they may not be impressing the outside customer. It might be the internal customer. So years ago, my first book I ever wrote was titled Moments of Magic, and it came off this idea, Moments of Truth by Jan Carlson, which actually turned into a book. Anytime a customer comes into contact with any aspect of a business, they form an impression. That's the moment of truth. And Jan Carlson said they could be good and bad, and I say they could be a third way, which we've talked about, average or satisfactory, never good enough. So Jan Carlson ran Scandinavian Airlines at a time when they were struggling, and he turned it around with this simple idea. Gathered everybody that worked at the airline into airplane hangars in every city they had a presence, and he talked about managing the moment of truth. And he said, if you're not dealing directly with a passenger, you're doing something inside to support somebody, or you're going to do something that impacts them. So let me give you the crystal clear example. And again, doesn't matter big or small, but just this is a very general example. Most of us have flown on an airplane, or at least we know what it's like if we've watched TV. So you check in for your flight, you get to the airport, you check your bag, and you see it go down the conveyor belt. Now, there's lots of touch points. Maybe you talk to the person at the front desk, or at the check-in desk. Maybe you talk to the guy that handles your bags. Maybe you talk to the gate agent. Maybe you talk to a flight attendant. Those are all major touch points at the top. And a customer is going to go through a journey. But once you see your bag going down that conveyor belt, you don't see it again until it shows up at the destination, at the baggage carousel, at the end of the trip. It didn't get there by magic.
Right.
Somebody didn't wave a wand and it just magically appears. No, like 10, 12, maybe more people touched that bag. They scanned the tag, they put it in the right pile, somebody put it on the cart, somebody took it out the plane, 2 or 3 people load the bags, shift them around. There's a lot of people who touch the bag.
Yeah.
Here's what's interesting. None of them ever see the passenger, but they all have amazing impact on the passenger's experience. So that's important. Now, that person who's working the bags also has a second customer. Not only do they have to take care of the passenger, but they also need to recognize if they don't, what's that passenger going to do? They're going to go to the baggage claim office. They're going to start yelling at that sorry person that sits behind the counter all day long, getting people who say, you lost my bag, you lost my bag. So if the person internally fails to do what they're supposed to do, they fail their customer as well as their internal customer. Now, that's a pretty general example, but it's a vivid one that I think we can all relate to.
Oh, I mean, it's a great example. I mean, there are so many times and so many things behind the scenes that most people, especially in larger organizations, ones that have, a lot of internal facing opportunities to work with the customer, but never actually have anything externally facing. It's so important that every step along the way, from a customer, from a company's perspective, to treat those employees like gold, because they have an opportunity to make or break that 3.3 or higher to get it to be less than 3, which is obviously not satisfactory.
So, let me put it to you this way. Customer service is not a department.
Yeah.
It's a philosophy to be embraced by everybody, from the CEO, leader of the company, all the way to the most recently hired employee.
So talk about the experience, or maybe the world of technology, and how much this is really shed a light on customer service. Because nowadays, with technology as prevalent as it is, and social media as easy to access as it is, I mean, people are sharing good, bad, and ugly. But oftentimes, because there's a lot of anonymity in social media, they'll share something negative. So maybe talk about how technology has really impacted the the customer journey, the customer experience, and customer service?
Sure. Well, technology's changed everything, and the digital experience is every bit as important now as the in-person experience, that online experience. So, you asked me a couple of things. Let's talk about the reviews first. Yes, you're right. Reviews. People leave them. Certain industries, it's very public. Hospitality, restaurants, hotels, retail stores, service type industries, where I get my hair cut. My son, who's in Nashville, Tennessee, Brian Hyken, #1 rated tour guide in all of Nashville, Tennessee, based on TripAdvisor ratings. So this is really powerful for business. But if you're in a manufacturing or a B2B type business, your ratings may not be as public. They're going to be on some forum that's an industry forum. You're going to be talked about at your next conference when people get together and convene for the opportunity to network and meet. So there's ratings. They just may not be as obvious as a Yelp or TripAdvisor type rating. But here's where I thought you were going with your question. So I'm going to ask you, what is, in your opinion, the easiest company in the world to do business with?
Geez, the one that creates the least amount of friction between
exactly. But who is it? Who is it? You know who it is.
Oh, geez. Well, I could
use them all the time.
I could name several of them. I could name Amazon. I could name.
Ding, ding, ding. That is the correct number. Right? Okay. But who else are you going to name?
Geez, I've worked with Zappos many times. I work with
which is owned by Amazon.
Okay, really? Okay, all right, cool. Even walking into a fast food establishment, you go into a place like Chick-fil-A, and they create this amazing level of service. Whether you believe in their philosophy and in whatever, in religion or not, regardless, you walk in there and you do get a level of service that doesn't quite feel like fast food customer service.
And by the way, stat after stat proves that genuine hospitality is fine. But we're talking about the digital experience. You named 2 companies right off the top that created a digital experience when I said, who are the easiest companies to do business with?
Yeah.
Amazon. What do you like about them? Boy, you have confidence. It's a digital experience, but they've created this confidence, which is not easy to do. As soon as you place your order, by the way, you're in total control of everything. You're looking at things online. You're looking at reviews.
Reviews, you're tracking it. You're seeing every step of the way. It's dropped off at your front door.
Exactly. And they're informing you every step of the way, which is what gives you the confidence. And they deliver so well. And plus, if there's problems, how they take care of them. There's a few outliers out there that say, hey, I wasn't taken care of. You know what? Every company's going to have those.
Yeah.
But day in, day out, this is a company that we can all look at and admire. The point is this. We are in a world where technology is starting to play a major part of what we do. I've ordered lunch to be delivered after our interview today, okay? 5 years ago, never could order lunch like this and have it delivered from this particular. We did it all online, okay? Before they even opened, we put our order in, okay? Because we knew we wanted here, at a certain time. But here's what's cool. And we talk about convenience. That's the last book I wrote, The Convenience Revolution. But we talk about convenience. You love Amazon because it's so convenient. They used to be the lowest price. Now they're a competitive price. Well, the place I just ordered my lunch from, they used to deliver for free. Now they charge $4.
Right.
Guess what? I'm happy to pay it because it's convenient.
Right.
I also understand there's a cost associated. I'm not unreasonable. And I think that's a pretty reasonable amount to pay, $4. Not bad. So here's the point. We want to be easy and as friction-free to do business with. And you use that word, frictionless. And when you do that, when you start to deliver the easy experience, you've got customer service and you've got customer experience, not to be confused. Service is part of experience. Experience is everything that the customer experiences, every touch point, even if they don't talk to a person. And I think when you understand that and you look for opportunities to improve the experience supported by amazing people, then you've got it made. Because here's what some companies are doing today. They're enamored with technology. They're spending a fortune. And they also spend a lot of money to get people to come into their business and do business with them. And then let's just use a very general example. I spend a lot of money to get people to come to my store, whatever I sell, it doesn't matter. I've got some young kid who I haven't properly trained, taking care of the front line, taking care of the customer. Man, all that money I just spent to get that customer to walk through the door, to give them a good experience beyond just the interactions with people, I've blown it because my people-to-people experience didn't support what else I had.
I love where you're heading. I love the idea of understanding that it isn't about creating a 6 on a scale of 1 to 5 every single time. It is important to certainly be better than average. Most companies, unfortunately, as I deal with them, are not better than average, which is why I deal a lot with some of the big boys like Amazon. I know people have oftentimes they're challenged, but if I walk into my local, let's say, computer repair shop, and I'm going in for a widget, whatever that widget or cable happens to be, and they
Mhm.
don't deliver, first of all, I have to get out of my house and go there. That's the biggest challenge. But second to that, oftentimes they won't, they'll have somebody that doesn't know the same amount as looking at reviews and looking at some of the pictures as I'm able to do on Amazon. And I really do feel like, yes, I'm going to reward the company that provides the best customer experience and the best level of service if I have any issue with that product or service. So for me, it's all about convenience. It's all about friction free experience that I'm going to be dealing with that company. And I don't know if I'm the crazy one in this, but I'm the one that really feels like I want to have. I don't want a 3.3. I do want a 4. I do want a 5. I want to feel like I'm wanted and I'm valued as a customer. That's the way I feel about every experience that I have.
Yeah, I just came back from an amazing international trip. I have a client over in the Dubai, Abu Dhabi area, the Middle East. And I was there and I go, man, do I want to spend the money? Should I go stay at not the 5-star, the 7-star hotel? Okay. What does 7 stars look like?
I don't know.
I don't know either, but you know what? One day I'm just going to suck it up and say, okay, because I think it's like 6,000 a night or something to go there. And like, what do they do for you? And I
Wow.
feel, here's what I'm worried about. It's not the room rate. It's how much do I have to tip these people? Because I'm sure with the kind of people that show up at this hotel, the bar is high.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, I love it. I love it. So tell me about, so as we kind of chat about, and again, a Nice Guy community, feel free to click the link in the show notes. The book is called The Cult of the Customer, and it's at thecultofthecustomer.com, and we'll make sure we put a link in the show notes to that. I love the fact that you actually have a workbook or several worksheets that are involved with each of those levels within each of the phases that customers go through. And I think that it is valuable for you to just go through Nice Guy community and see how many of those boxes you're able to actually check off if you think that you have a customer that's an evangelist for your products or services. See how many of those that you can check off and actually be truthful that, yes, I do have a customer that would be an evangelist for my products or services.
Right. At the end of each of the chapters on the 5 cults, and there's plenty more information in there because we back it up with example after example after example, all different industries, all backgrounds, etc. There's a checklist. You're in the cult of ownership when you are, and there's a big checklist. But more importantly, you mentioned the forms. At the end of the book, and of course there's an online, you can click online and get it all downloaded as a PDF. These workbook exercises that are at the end of the book, these are the same exercises that we use in our training when companies pay us tens of thousands of dollars to go out and deliver training projects. These are the exercises that we start with, and you can't miss this. This is a great opportunity. So we don't want you to read the book. We want you to use the book. We want it, to be gone back to over and over again. And we place those online resources there so that people make a difference. I'm not right. I mean, you make a little bit of money on a book, but it's not much. It's hardly worth, unless you sell like
gazillions of them,
write novels and you're a best-selling author of a novel. Business books typically don't sell. And you know what? So if you make a couple of bucks a book and you sell, I don't know, 25, 50,000, that's great. But it takes you a year to write it. You put your blood, sweat, and tears into it. And you just hope that it's more than just read. I want this book to be used. I use words like in my other titles, the Amazement Revolution, the Convenience Revolution. We talk about evangelists. We talk about cults. And by the way, cult is not a dirty word.
Right.
Cult is simply a group of people who have a common interest. And unfortunately, some of the people with common interest are these fanatics out there. But if you go, running with your group on Sunday morning through the park every Sunday like it's religion, that's in effect a cult. But these words that I use are meant to evoke emotion and energy, and I hope they do. And I hope people use the book, not just read the book.
Well, and if you head over Nice Guy Community to thecultofthecustomer.com, you'll see easily that you can click to buy the book. But Shep is gracious enough to provide that workbook for you free of charge. So I would say, why don't you reward Shep by buying the book? You can pre-order it if you're listening to this before the middle of March. If it's after the middle of March, just head right over to Amazon.com and you can buy the book directly from there. Have it delivered. Track the shipping progress as the book is coming to your house as well. But yeah, I love the idea of actually using the book. And I've had the opportunity to know Shep for the last 5 or 6 years, and as the more I get to know him, the more that I realize that he's providing a lot of this valuable content, the stuff that has taken him decades and decades and decades. Did I say 50 years of experience? Did I say that, or should I not?
Now you're aging me. Okay. I've been actually at this now this is, I think, my 39th year. That's pretty amazing. Yeah.
It is amazing.
38th or 39th year.
Everywhere I go, if I happen to mention customer service and Shep Hyken, people know you. And I think it's for the good reason. So Shep, thanks for all you have done for the environment and the industry and the world of customer service.
The environment. Yes. By the way, I do contribute to the environment. I recycle.
I don't mean the environment as in the green environment. I mean the environment of customer service, silly.
I know. So much appreciate you, man.
No, I love having you here. So let's get off the business stuff for a quick second or two and just talk about what's going on personally for you. I know you're a big hockey fan, so why don't you tell me what's happening in the world of hockey?
Sure. Well, I actually played this morning, and I scored a goal and had 2 assists. So
nice.
Yeehaw. All right.
Nice.
But I'm a big, huge St. Louis Blues fan, and since the last time you and I've talked, my beloved St. Louis Blues have won a Stanley Cup championship.
I know, and you had the good nature to actually send me a text message somewhere within a day or two of that, reminding me of the fact that
I was so excited. But here's the funnest thing. It's one of these lifelong dreams that you don't know you have till after it happens. First of all, 1967, Blues come to St. Louis. I'm 7 years old. My dad takes me to a bunch of games. He actually took me to the final game where we lost in Game 4. We lost 4 straight games to the Montreal Canadiens in the Stanley Cup Finals. Same thing happened the following year. Same thing happened the year after that against Boston. We've never won a Stanley Cup final, let alone a game in the finals. Mm-hmm. Then here we are, 52 plus years later, I'm old enough to buy my own season tickets.
Good.
And I'm thinking, my dad took me to these games back when I was a kid, but they win. So there's a huge parade. So I'm at the parade and I say, I want to go buy a hat. And I go to the gift shop and somehow or another, I see the entrance to the executive offices of the St. Louis Blues. And I don't know how it happened, but I found myself in the office automatically. And there's all the players and the coaches, and they didn't have the hat that I wanted to buy. But what they did have, there were a bunch of guys, the cheerleaders, the guys that are carrying the big flagpoles and these huge flags. And I go, hey, it's the flag guys. And I'm with my buddy. And this is what the guy said. He's got a clipboard. He looks at me. He goes, are you guys here to carry a flag? And I looked at my buddy. I said, yes, we are. I Ferris Buellered my way into the St. Louis Blues parade.
That's incredible.
I mean, they gave me a flag and they said, are you a father? And I said, yes, I am. I am. I have 3 kids.
Right.
And I realized he's asking me if I'm a father of one of the players.
Right.
And so he goes, you're going to be with the players. So I was with the players in the parade. And I carried the flag, touched the Stanley Cup. It was the most amazing day. I put it up there with getting married and having kids.
Serendipitous, man. All the good things come to those who deserve good things, and you certainly deserve those good things. Hey, Shep, what's next in your life? I mean, you have really, from a customer service perspective, you can't get any higher on the ladder than you are. And please don't dismiss that as just as a humble guy. I know you're going to, but I don't want you to. I want you to accept that and receive it for just a second. But
well, thank you. I accept it and I'm honored.
So when you get to the top, to the level of success that you've gotten to when it comes to being the customer service evangelist that you are, and speaking about topics of customer service and experience, what happens next? I mean, no matter what you do, you can't deliver shabby service no matter what, even in your emeritus career, whatever that might be. So what comes next for you?
Well, first of all, I'm a lifelong learner. I love to read. I love to study the clients that I work with. And I think I'll be able to continue to do that. And I think today, the whole idea of customer experience, which is a little bit step up from service, is my big frontier. It's not the new frontier, but there's so much out there. I don't know how many years am I going to be doing this. I mean, there's a point where retirement to me is not about stopping.
Yeah.
It's about stopping doing what I don't like doing. There's a difference.
Yeah.
Retirement is doing what you love to do and nothing else. And I can see myself 5, 10 years from now. Maybe I don't want to be the cute old guy on stage, but I've got a lot.
You'll never be that cute old guy on stage.
Yeah.
Shep. It's
Here
okay.
it comes. 60 years ago, we got the guy. He comes out with a walker. No teeth, but I can still talk. But I think that there's opportunity. We have online training. I have trainers that deliver my content. There's a side of the business that is beyond just me getting out there and performing in front of people, a speech or writing a book. So I want to see that go. I think to myself, where am I in 5 years? I have a 5-year plan. I have a 10-year plan. I have a 25-year plan. I plan to live beyond 100.
Mm-hmm.
I plan to play golf on my 100th birthday. That's
George Burns, Bob Hope style.
Yeah, but I don't care if I need a cart or if I'm out there on my 100th birthday, I'm not dying when I'm 100.
Right.
So, because you're healthy enough to do that. I have lifetime aspirations. I want to be a mentor to others. I want to help others get in this business and blow it up and make it great for them. So that's what I have 5 major aspirations, and one of them is help others achieve what they want to achieve.
Amazing.
And Zig Ziglar once said, if you help enough people get what they want, you'll get what you want. I just love seeing that. When I was a kid, so you want some inside information?
Yeah, I love it.
On Shep. When I was a kid, 19, 20 years old, I did my magic shows working in a nightclub. I was thinking about what I'm going to do after college. I had 2 friends, mentors, if you will. They're about 20 years old. They both have passed away. They were both at my wedding. I mean, we were such close friends. They were like my older brothers. I'm 20 years old. Now, the only time anybody's ever said they love me was my parents and an occasional girlfriend that, whoa, was that a mistake? Okay. But seriously.
Especially your wife didn't like that at the time.
No. The love word wasn't bantered around a lot in my family, and it wasn't something you typically heard. And these guys were helping me. And I said, why do you help me? You're giving me such guidance, even though I'm working for them in their restaurants and clubs. They said, Shep, we love you like you're a brother. I go, love? Man, no older person outside of my father and my mother have ever said that to me. Yeah. They'll use the word love. That's number one. Number 2, they said, and when we were young, we had people help guide us and make good decisions. Oh, God, and we sure hope you'll do the same. Yeah. And you know what? I want to pay it forward times 10, times 100. I love seeing great people succeed. And if I can help them along the way, I don't want them to give me back anything. I just want to see the success happen. And if I see forward progress, that's enough for me.
Amazing. And again, you've ended this episode on such a positive note, and you've gotten me motivated and inspired, and you are everything that I know not you profess to be, but the industry professes you to be. You're just an amazing guy, and I appreciate everything that you've done, Shep.
Thank you very much. And ditto, man. We love what you do, and I've seen your growth. I've seen you go from podcast 1 to what episode are we on now?
I think 1,028 or something.
Wow.
Silly, stupid like that.
Yeah. Pretty soon you're going to be at 256K at 1,020.
Man, Shep, thank you. And Nice Guy Community, please take a moment, head over to the link in the show notes, thecultofthecustomer.com. Click on Shep's link, click on the workbook, make sure you get all the information, buy the book, love up on Shep as he has loved up on this industry for so many years. Shep Hyken, man, appreciate you, and I'm looking forward to having you back. I don't think I've had anybody on the show 4 times, so obviously we're doing something right together, so let's continue on,
man.
Shall we?
Well, thanks, Doug. Love you like a brother, man. Appreciate you.
Hey, I love you too, brother. Nice Guy Community, never underestimate the power of nice. Again, special thanks to Shep Hyken. All of his information, including access to his book and the workbook there as well, will be right there in the show notes. Steve O'Brien, go ahead and take us out of here.
For the Nice Guys on Business, I'm Steve O'Brien. I would have gotten away with it too if it weren't for you meddling kids.